In the last episode, I told you I was going to share my favorite publishing method. And I have to tell you, it's probably not the one you've been told to chase. Because while everyone else is still arguing about traditional publishing versus self publishing, the authors who are actually gaining traction right now are the ones building real authority, opening doors, and creating income from their books. They're not choosing sides. They're playing a completely different game. And if you've been sitting on a book or trying to figure out the right way to publish it, this conversation is going to shift how you see the entire publishing landscape. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Dr. Carolyn Wiley, founder of Rose and Pearl Publishing, and this is the Publish Pearl podcast, where we talk about how to turn your message into a book that actually does something in the world, build authority, attract the right people, and multiply your impact long after you've written the last page. Most of the authors I work with are not trying to become full-time writers. They're actually coaches and speakers, leaders, people who already have a message and a mandate, and they know the book is the next logical step on their journey of being the authority in their space. But they're stuck trying to figure out how to do all of it well. And that's exactly why this conversation matters. Because if you zoom out for a minute, publishing has changed more in the last 10 years than it did in the 100 years before that. We now live in a world where anyone can publish a book, literally in a matter of hours. There are millions of books being released every single year. The barrier to entry has basically disappeared. And yet most of these books never go anywhere. They don't sell. They don't get read. They don't open doors. So what we've done is to create these two very clear opposing camps. On one side, you have traditional publishing, what we think of when we think of a published book. It comes with the prestige and the validation, the sense that you've been chosen. But you also have slow timelines and a loss of control, very little say in how your book is actually positioned. And on the other side, you have self-publishing, where you have full control, faster timelines, complete ownership. But it often comes at the expense of quality, strategy, and meaningful distribution channels. And what I see over and over again, especially with authors curious about the Christian Writers Arise program that I run, is that they feel stuck between these two options. Like they have to pick one option and just hope that it works. Always stuck in that camp and never able to make another decision. But what if traditional versus self-publishing is actually the wrong question? What if the real question isn't which model is better, but which parts of each model actually position your book the best in the market to find and serve your ideal readers? Which means there's an incredible opportunity in this moment, but only for those authors who understand what this moment in time requires. Because in this landscape, it's not enough to simply write a good book. It's not even enough to just publish one. A book now has to be positioned with intention. It has to be clear and compelling, professionally executed and discoverable. It has to meet the reader where they already are, while still carrying the integrity of the author's message. And this is where so many writers get stuck, because they do want that freedom to create the book they are actually meant to write. They want to keep their voice and their vision and their ownership. But on the other side, they also know that readers expect quality and they want a quality product. They know that the market expects polish. They know you have to be able to be discovered, and that doesn't happen by accident. And so they're caught between this wanting control and needing professional support. And that tension is exactly why my favorite publishing model has become my favorite. Because every serious author eventually runs into this same question. How do I stay in control of my message and my intellectual property without sacrificing credibility, quality, or reach that my expertise might not cover? And so this is where the model I love the most comes in. The model that I recommend and the one I build around inside my programs is what I would call a strategic hybrid approach. Not hybrid in the traditional sense of the industry right now, where you hand your book over to a company, you pay them for the best, and you hope something happens, right? No, this is much more intentional than that. I'm referring to a model where the author remains in control of the message, the vision, the rights, but brings in the right people, the correct professionals at the ideal stages to elevate the work to that level that a traditional publisher would produce. So instead of doing everything alone, you have professional support with editing, design, positioning, and strategy, but you're not giving away ownership in the process. You're not waiting to be chosen. You're building something on purpose. And this is the shift I walk my authors through step by step inside Christian Writers Arise. Because writing the book is only one piece of the assignment. Positioning it well is what happens after the book is finished. Because the authors who are winning right now are actually not necessarily the best writers. They're the ones who are the best positioned. And what makes this model so powerful is that it actually aligns everyone involved. The author keeps their voice, their message, their ownership. The publisher or the team of professionals supporting the book gets to do what they do best and elevate the quality and help shape the positioning. Distributors and retailers are working with a professional product that's actually ready for the market and not having to worry about putting out low quality merchandise. And even influencers and platforms are far more likely to share a book that is clearly defined, clearly positioned, and aligned with their audience. But the most important part of all of this is the reader, because the reader is no longer sifting through the noise trying to find something meaningful. They're finding books that were created with intention for them from the beginning. Because the truth is, we don't have a shortage of books right now, but we do have a shortage of books that were built to matter. And what's interesting is that those diamond in the rough books that everyone is talking about, they're actually becoming less rare because the authors are starting to take ownership of the process. Authors are starting to invest in the quality of their book themselves. They're thinking beyond just getting the book done, and they're starting to ask, who is this book actually for? Inside Christian Writers Arise, I see this shift happen in real time. Authors come to me thinking they just need to write a book. And somewhere along the way, they realize they're actually building something much bigger than that. They have a message that needs to be shared with the world. And the book is what's going to open those doors. It becomes their body of work that can continue long after it is published. So the real question isn't which publishing model is best, or how are you going to publish your book? The real question that we need to ask is, what role is your book going to play in your life after it's finished? Is this going to be a business asset? Is this the first in a series of fiction books that's going to build an author career? Because once you know this, everything else gets clearer. The level of quality you need becomes obvious. The kind of support you need becomes clear. Even timelines start to make more sense, because suddenly you're not stuck between these two old-fashioned options anymore. You're making a decision that actually aligns with what you're called to build, which goes far beyond the book that you're writing in the moment. So if this discussion today is shifting how you're thinking about publishing your book, I would love to hear more from you. Drop a comment and tell me where you are right now in the publishing process. And if you're ready to start thinking about your book, not just as something you write, but as something that works for you and your ideal readers long after it's written, then you are in the right place. And I'm so glad that you're here. So make sure that you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who has a book in them, but hasn't quite figured out how to bring it to life yet. Grab my Right Start guide at roseandpearl.net/get started to learn how to begin putting your message into a book. And I'll see you in the next episode.